Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question, is a digital asset a security, really is a question of should existing securities regulations apply to digital assets? It seems to me that the answer is no. Blockchain technology enables digital assets to be created, stored, transferred, and transacted. The use of digital assets is essential to our discussion here. Some are cryptocurrencies intended to be used as a means of payment to buy goods and services. Some are digital assets intended to represent traditional assets, such as equities, bonds, or derivatives. Some are digital tokens intended to provide access to and operate blockchain-based infrastructures. Further still, digital assets have different funding structures at their inception, different governance structures, different operational rules, and different marketed economic realities. Existing securities regulations simply do not have the appropriate flexibility to foster innovation and support the adoption of blockchain technology in all of its use cases, while also providing the necessary investor protections. Here in Congress, we face a daunting task in navigating these regulatory waters. I believe Congress must act to clarify the regulatory uncertainty. Digital assets will be a huge part of the global economy in the future. The strength of our markets and the rule of law in the United States gives us the ability to lead in the future of digital assets. That ability to lead is also often a burden. It is a burden that we are obligated to rise to the occasion and meet. So the purpose of this hearing is to identify what future framework will best meet the needs of the digital assets industry while protecting our citizens from foreseeable harm. Along those lines, I have a few questions around whether existing securities regulations should apply to digital assets. One of the hallmarks of digital asset that has reached its full potential is being functional and decentralized. Mr. Schoenberger, would you discuss what it means for digital asset to be functional and decentralized, and why these features have become the end goal for so many digital asset projects?
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. Well, I would say this is certainly true for DOT and some other projects, probably not for all. For those where that applies, we need to go back to the Web3 vision that is based on community consensus, and this necessarily requires that there's no central entity controlling the network. And the Web3 Foundation, during the launch of the Polkadot network, gave up control over the network and handed that over to the community very early in the game. So that's the decentralization part. Being functional simply means some token needs to be more than simply a means of payment or a vehicle for investment. In the case of DOT, again, this gives you access to the network. It's used for securing the network. It's used for participating in the governance, and also if you want to lease a blockchain on top of the network.
Thank you for that. One follow-up. In your testimony, you said that when the foundation removed the pseudo key, it was a pivotal point in decentralizing the Polkadot network. Would you explain more about that process and how it ensured that the foundation could not control the network anymore?
Sure. The pseudo key gives super user capacities, like gives you the abilities of a super admin. This key, together with the abilities, was given up, and since the code is all open source, this can be looked up by literally everyone. And once this was handed over to the community, the whole control over the network, to reinstate this would take a majority vote of the community.
Thank you for that. We've discussed today that either legislation or adaptations are needed. I want to discuss that more. Bitcoin is the most popular digital asset in the ecosystem. It is also the only digital asset that both the SEC and the CFTC can agree is a commodity. Mr. Santori, under the current securities laws, would it be possible for a national security exchange to list Bitcoin and a security alongside each other?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Timmons. No, it wouldn't. National securities exchanges are limited in the assets that they can list, and it's not just a question of amending the list of assets they can list. It's a matter of ripping the heart out of the rules that are in place that make that listing possible. The limitations on trading times, the requirement of intermediaries that can be expensive, the requirement that they don't list additional assets. These are fundamental to the structure of the national securities exchange that exists in the United States. It is not a flexible one.
Thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.